Today we are going to discuss on the bit. This is a much misunderstood subject. So to clarify, let us first examine the British dressage rules on the bit. In all his work, even at the halt, the horse must be on the bit. A horse is said to be on the bit when the hocks are correctly placed and the neck is more or less raised and arched, according to the stage of training and the extension or collection of the pace, and he accepts the bridle with a light and soft contact and submissiveness throughout. The head should remain in a steady position, as a rule slightly in front of the vertical, with a supple pole at the highest point of the neck, and no resistance should be offered to the rider. That is the official definition, and it's a very good one. But unfortunately, people become so focused with the head and neck of the horse that they forget that only from good posture throughout the horse's body can this occur. You see, like us, the head is a very heavy part of the animal's body, and it wants to drop once a rider is on the horse's back, simply because the back is being depressed, and it's much harder then for the horse to raise his neck and wither and to hold the head in the correct position that he would in the field, for example. When we ride, we don't want our horse in a grazing position. We want our horse to be alert and looking forward and attentive to us. But if his head is in the wrong place, this is going to be very difficult for him. In fact, many riders, in their attempts to put the horse on the bit, actually pull the horse's head behind the vertical. He can actually no longer see in front of him, and they make the head even heavier for him to carry, just as we would if we had our head pulled down. It would be a terrible strain on our neck and back. So today we're going to try to see how we can encourage the horse to come onto the bit without stress and without putting him in a bad position. This is most important before we begin. What many riders don't understand about bits and tack is they don't just influence the horse's mouth. They influence the whole body. Let's just look at these very simple drawings. We've got a horse. There's his tail. There's his head. Rider sits in the middle, and all their weight is in the middle of his back. If we can connect the front end to the hind end, we can hopefully build a bridge for the rider to sit upon, so that instead of just sitting on the horse, who will naturally dip his back away from the pressure, we can help the horse to carry the rider better by bringing that back more up and underneath the rider. But to do this, we have to make a connection to the front end of the horse through the reins. The obvious way, therefore, is for the rider to feel on the horse's mouth through the bit and to connect the hind end to the front end by means of the rider's position, because contact is nothing to do with just the hands alone. It's basically to do with the action of the rider's body and the legs acting on the body of that horse, so that the hind end is pushed towards the rider's hands. And when the hind end is pushed towards the rider's hands by a feel on the rein and the correct leg aids and seat aids, the whole thing starts to feel different. We have this lovely connection which starts from here and moves up underneath the rider's seat and is felt in the hands. And then we feel that the energy of the horse has come to our hand, and only then are we in a position to direct the horse and tell him where to go and how we want him to go, i.e. whether we want him in walk, trot or canter, whether we want him slow or fast, how much we allow him to go forward, and how much we want him to come to us. And that is the tool that we have at our disposal. Our own bodies, our hands, and the bit and the rein, providing the connection between the back end of the horse. Let's just colour that red. The back end of the horse with all his energy coming forward and up and under the rider and meeting the rider by means of the bit and transferring the energy back to the hands. And that is what we mean by putting the horse on the bit. Until the horse is made flexible, he will be unable to sustain a good outline for more than a few seconds at a time. Good outline and working the horse into the bit goes hand in hand, but there are no easy shortcuts. To carry a rider in comfort from well-developed muscles, the horse must be prepared in the same way as we train a human athlete. There are many exercises to help achieve this. When the horse is developed correctly, the muscling behind the saddle gives an appearance of roundness. Here we see good muscle tone flowing over the quarters, loins and under saddle to continue in an unbroken line over the wither and neck. In horse terms, this is known as top line. Since muscles work in pairs, they can only build and strengthen through stretch and flex exercises. Longitudinal stretch and bend is particularly helped by working on the long rein and deep work. Lateral stretch and bend will improve as we work through the various school figures according to the stage of training. Clearly, the smaller the circle, the greater the demand we put on the horse's body. This spiraling exercise will require a high degree of flexibility. Full collection is a proof of flexibility, balance, and strength. We should feel that the horse's energy rises up and meets us at the center of balance. Ultimately, we should be able to place the horse's head where we want, whenever we want. Our hands present an invitation so that the horse wants to follow the contact, whether the hand remains in the normal position or is held lower down, as shown here. If the contact is not gentle, the horse will not be inclined to seek it. This horse has a naturally high head carriage, so opening the reins will encourage him to stretch, lower, and lengthen his neck prior to taking up the normal position. In walk, the horse's head should gently nod as he pushes through from behind. If we try to restrict this natural flowing movement from a forced contact or tight punishing legs, we will stymie the engagement behind. Instead, the legs must work the horse forward in a light, decontracted way. Once a normal contact has been regained, the horse will then continue to work through from behind, but without restriction.